perfect for today. Because this is the day that we officially say
Who
goodbye.
are you? You look vaguely familiar.
I know who I am.
That's a good question for today.
It is.
Stop.
Your hair, is it real? Like
No.
maple?
Stop.
I like to make an impact.
Okay. Brute force.
Now, time to make an impact, right?
All right, it is time to make an impact. As we are going to be officially in this congregation saying goodbye to 2021, and I'm going, yay! We're going to be welcoming 2022 officially. For those of you who know me, you probably know that I love cooking shows. And I really love America's Test Kitchen because what they do is they go into this idea of a recipe and then looking at what worked and then how can it be tweaked, how could it be made better. And there was one show I saw a few years ago that was, they were doing French toast. And you'd think, French toast, good God, that's such an easy thing to do. And yet, there was this whole process of, well, this worked pretty well. We dipped it in 2 eggs and a 1/4 teaspoon of flour for 30 seconds. And then we found that if we did that and added a little melted butter and dipped it for 33.5 seconds, then it just was so much better. And it goes on and on and on with all of this. And so they got me thinking that this, for someone like me, who likes things really spelled out, for someone like me, this is really good. And then I was thinking, I said, well, you know, this is what we do with our lives. I mean, there's just so much that just requires us to be in the kitchen. And the title of my talk today is, the one I came up with was Whines, Whines, and Wishes. And the way that I came up with that is that as we were looking at the end of 2021 and the beginning of 2022, and it was that, you know, years ago, I was part of a ministry team and we brought in a corporate trainer who also worked with spiritual groups so that we could become more efficient and more connected and really look at what we were doing and be of greater service in the community. And the idea that we could all rise up together. So she's taught us this process of examining our wins, our whines, and our wishes. And it's kind of like America's Test Kitchen, because you look at what works, you look at what doesn't, you tweak it, and then you look at what the result is, or what you want the result to be. So as a group, here, you know, we strive to practice in this climate of learning a new way of being, you know, and that way of being is that when we are available to the deep and always ever-present active integrity of God, we all thrive. And, you know, I think, wow. And when we were in that group then, we explored, how do we do that in life? How do we navigate the many plot twists that go on in our lives? The changes, where suddenly we're all of a sudden doing the makeup mambo, you know, and oops, don't step in that over there. And oh no, what are we gonna do? You know, can't have that. And we have to turn left when we thought we were gonna go right and it was all planned out. With all of that, how can we keep this idea of thriving present in our lives? So this process then was fun because it was healthy and it didn't involve shaming ourselves or blaming each other. See, it's easier to shame ourselves, and it is easier, definitely, and a lot more sexy and attractive to blame somebody else, you know, because that's really a convenient distraction, isn't it? I mean, you don't actually have to look at your own accountability and how your thinking might have contributed to an experience going horribly wrong. When I first got my practitioner training years ago. Don't want to even know how many years ago. But we did a lot of work with the idea of shame and blame to heal those areas of our lives. See, I think we do shame and blame. Or let me speak for myself. Just speak for myself here. I know that I can be drawn into going into that place when my ego, or let's just call it my guilt meter, would rather accuse than grow and change, right? And egotistically, it's just less work. And like many of us, I think that I have a default belief that says it's better to distract with a lot of drama than take responsibility for my thinking. Anybody else? Like, ooh, shiny over here, let's do that. And I hope everybody will look at that rather than, oh my God, I did this wrong. So why grow? Why change? Why must we uncover that mess that's going on inside that we teach here so clearly is influencing and creating perhaps a mess outside? Why do we need to do that? And I'm just going to quote me here. It's because we're big now. You and I are wearing our big girl pants, our big boy pants, and it's time that we really, really learn how to work with this thing called life, how to live this thing called life, and how to thrive in it so that we're not blaming and shaming ourselves or others, and that we get to be fully standing in joy and empowerment because we've decided we're just going to get with the program. It's just so much easier when we do that, you know? So here we are, January 2nd, minutes away from having crossed off 2021. And so let's take a minute before we jump into 2022 with both feet and just take a look back at 21. Anyone have some wins, some whines, and maybe some wishes about that experience? And I know it's really tempting to say what happened in 2021 stays in 2021, right? But I'm really clear that I have no interest whatsoever in repeating a lot of my own 2021. And a lot of it was really, really great. But I don't want the world to repeat a lot of what happened in 2021. Anyone else on board with that? So I think that means that we have to be fully conscious about what worked, what didn't, and best of all, what do we want? What do we want to be in this brand new gift that we're just starting to unwrap that's 2022? Meister Eckhart wrote, become aware of what's within you. Announce it, pronounce it, produce it, and give birth to it. What grand words for us as we move into 2022. Announce it, pronounce it, produce it, and give birth to it. Now, metaphorically, I think we're kind of doing that every day, but how wonderful it is to do it intentionally and to take stock and really regard what it is that we want to create in our lives and support other people in creating as well. So, what if we announced, pronounced, produced, and gave birth to what is within us, knowing that we weren't afraid of what came before, afraid of what's come before, or that more importantly, we're not limited by what has come before in any shape or form. Has anyone here ever had a really powerful dream, a desire, and yet you withheld your full faith and credit and participation in that dream Because you were afraid of your fears, you know those fears, not being good enough, your limitations, or your screw-ups, you know, your screw-ups of past experience might somehow affect, or this is where we usually go, predict the outcome. There's a quote from A Course in Miracles that says, what you think you are is a belief to be undone. What you think you are, or who you think you are, is but a belief to be undone. And could it be that everything you and I have held against ourselves or believed about who and what we are is really just a huge, big pile of false conclusions based on somebody else's treatment of us or somebody else's pain, their beliefs about themselves? And could it be that everything you have believed about why you can live a life of profound depth and meaning is really just a pile of false assumptions about how life is or isn't? What if the beliefs to be undone were the only thing standing between you and the life that you've been seeking? The life you came here to live. What if that were it? What if that were it? Well, it is. Because, by the way, what if everything that has happened in your life has brought you to this perfect time and place today so that you may recognize that the most perfect starting place of all is right where you are. It's right where you are, right here, right now. So whines, whines, and wishes. That's the way I'm choosing to assimilate and reconcile and love myself through my stories, my fears, and my ready-to-be-revealed beliefs, ready to be revealed and discarded beliefs. See, I want to know what Spirit is showing me. I want to know why. I want to reveal wholeness in every area of my thinking and in every area of my life. And that means taking a little journey through my own mind, which can be a tad bit scary. But we must go into our own minds, scary or not. But here's the thing. If I begin with what has worked or is working, then I think I'm well fortified to explore the rest. So if we look at something, or if we look at what has been working, what are the blessings? What are the good things that we can really look at? What are the fabulous things? Richard Rohr has written about something called the wisdom pattern. Maybe some of you have read it. It's an idea that you see demonstrated throughout history over and over and over again, which is that there is order or apparent order, and then disorder begins to emerge. And that's because a new idea is being birthed. And it means that the old structures, the old paradigms, the old systems must be dissolved, must be broken away, must be released in order for the new order to appear. So you have order, you have disorder, new order. And that's the cycle of life. That's whims, whines, and wishes. It really is. It's America's test kitchen. I wanted to take a look at some of the wins from 2021. So I'm going to invite you to just relax your breathing. Just relax. And consider any love, Any joy? Any shared moments of delight? Delight that might have occurred to you before you? Just regard them. Regard them without judgment. They might be precious. They might be poignant. Were there celebrations? Were there discoveries? Did you meet new people? Did you try anything new? So for me, my win, my biggest win, is that I get to be here with all of you. And I mean it. I really mean it. I get to live in Mobile, a great city. I get to share what I think is the most powerful teaching on the planet with people who are committed to their own spiritual growth and transformation. I get to be with people who are looking at how to create a world that works for everybody. And what we can create in our own lives. I mean, that's the consciousness of this church, the consciousness of this teaching. And it's really thrilling to be continually exploring what it is that wants to be born and what wants to be revealed by means of each of us and this center. Now, I know that it's not just me having wins. I know it's all of us. And with the backdrop still of social unrest, political upheaval, I know that the world has seen wins too. And actually, before I go on, I want to just bring this up because two very brilliant lights in our world, both Archbishop Desmond Tutu and Betty White, have made their transition as we close out the year and move into the new one. And I keep thinking to myself, wow, here are two brilliant lights, expressions of life that were just wonderful. And I think they have so impacted this planet. Archbishop Tutu has so gifted us with guidance and with wisdom and with leadership and possibility. And Betty White was the radiant example of love and joy, kindness, and humor and humility. They think they both exemplified one of my favorite quotes. God's dream is that you and I and all of us will realize that we are family, that we are made for togetherness, for goodness and compassion. And I think that's what spiritual community is. Sometimes we have to move away from our birth families or families of origin to be in chosen families. But all of us are families. And we are here to expand in greater compassion, greater understanding. So here's some of the wins this year. The need to find a vaccine fast spurred scientists to impressive advances in coding diseases. And the rest of us learned how to take advantage of the digital age. I know that my awarenesses and my abilities have expanded exponentially from where they were 2 years ago. Innovations abounded in telemedicine and remote work, and we began to commune as never before with faraway friends and families. And we can keep that up in sickness and health. That's pretty cool. I've been able to connect with cousins and school chums that I haven't seen for 15 or 20 years. And now we're able to Zoom and see each other. We're more connected than we ever were. Here's another one. The United States re-entered the Paris Climate Agreement. That's a good one. We also restored legal protection to Bears Ears, the Grand Staircase Escalante, and other monuments, protecting natural resources and grandeur, indigenous tribes, sacred land, and a whole bunch of delicate ecosystems. Big win for 2021. Big step for the planet. Self-care was elevated to more than just an idea of a really good mani-pedi. Simone Biles and Naomi Osaka helped our collective understanding grow by speaking out during the Olympics about their own psychological struggles. That took such courage. They both stepped back from competition, choosing what they knew was best for them, rather than caving to the demands of a society that so often views these amazing top-tier athletes as objects for public consumption rather than human beings. Juneteenth was made a national holiday. That's a big one. June 19th is the anniversary of the day in 1865 when enslaved black people in Galveston, Texas finally heard of the Emancipation Proclamation, which had been issued 2 years before. So this is huge that we are all recognizing that this is important, that this matters. So wins are important. We have to give ourselves a chance to celebrate, to own, to embrace, and to know the joys and the good that has happened. And whether the wins are personal or global, we all need to recognize our own areas of growth and discovery and accomplishment. And by the way, delight also. Simple delight. Just knowing that you are here, awake and alive, and the sun is soon going to be shining. It's delight. So once we've allowed for and celebrated wins, the next thing we have to observe is the whines. Now, this doesn't mean that we shame ourselves or blame ourselves or anybody else for failure or frustration. It means asking. What do I need to know about this disappointment or this loss? Because many of us have had losses this year and so what do I need to know in order to reveal a greater expression of God in my life? Your whines could be financial. They might be about a relationship that hasn't been fulfilling. It might be about the environment, long lines at the grocery store and lack of product, or how you wish that you just had more time to do all the things you love. But whatever they're about, I want to invite you, I want to encourage you to look at them squarely and ask yourselves, what do I need to know about these? What do I need to know about this? Are any of my whines representing beliefs that are ripe and ready to be undone? Is there something here that's ready to be undone? So when I learned that a lot of my whines were essentially defending my victim consciousness, like, oh no, not again, poor me. When I learned that, it hurt. I didn't like finding out that about myself. It's icky. But I was finally able to stop seeing myself as less than or unworthy. I was finally able to begin seeing myself as Spirit sees me, as God longs to experience itself through me, as me. Not wounded, not broken, not a victim, but fully blessed and fully divine. My willingness to love myself through my old beliefs gave me the muscle to plant and nurture new beliefs. And that's what we all want to do. That's why we're here on the planet. We can use the truth. So we can use the truth about our spiritual identity as a creation of spirit, to be that clean and wonderful, nourishing soul in which to plant the ideas, the dreams, the desires that we want to bring forth as we move into the realm of wishes. Wayne Dyer was well known for saying, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So I began to change the way I was looking at things, particularly myself. And the things that I was looking at, and me, we changed. It's very interesting. It's interesting, and it's because we live in a mental universe. So we are constantly creating and constantly demonstrating out here. It's just, are we aware of it? Are we awake to it? Are we seeing what's going on? Or are we just numbly doing the dance and stepping on the piles of our stuff and our old beliefs and going, oh well, somebody else's toes, no problems, no worries, not mine? Or are we taking a moment to stop and say, okay, I'm a creation of spirit. Everything that's true about God is true about me. So what can I do here? What can I know here? What wants to be healed here? What wants to be revealed? So whines, I think, like grief or sadness, are the cleanup crew for our lives. And once we've cleaned out the wreckage and the results of limited perception, we suddenly have space for newness. You know, I think we're ripe for evolution and change. And by the way, I think that's why we manifest problems. I think we do it to get our attention. Because when we're ready for evolution, when we're ready for change, when we're ready for growth, and once we've done that clean up on aisle 7 kind of work in our lives, we're actually able to see what's possible. But if we're holding on to anything that tells us we can't, or we can't do it very well, or anything like that, or we're not worth it, or we don't get to, if we're holding on to any of that, which, by the way, these things are instilled in us so early in life, we get defined by the world, and we let the world define us. It might be a teacher from the 3rd grade who told somebody, I don't think Candace should be in this place. She's not reliable. And then I heard that, and it defines me. You know? It defines me for a long period of time. It might be the way you were treated by someone, a parent, someone who hurt you. And we draw conclusions, and we define ourselves. But what I'm challenging all of us to do is, on a daily basis, let God define us. And the way I like to say that is, we can be defined by the world, or we can be defined by God. We can be defined by spirit, whatever your word for God is. But who and what are you defined by? It's not the world. It's not what happened. It's by this fundamental truth that you and I are here by divine right, by divine intention. We are God's celebration of itself, or as one of my teachers used to say, we are God's ta-da. She always used to end her treatments with that. And so it is, ta-da. Ernest Holmes wrote this wonderful book, this thing called You. And it's a total immersion in radiance and possibility. And I want to share with you today a couple of ideas from that wonderful book. He wrote, every desire you have for betterment in life is some echo from that deep within which forevermore proclaims, behold, I make all things new. He also wrote, and this is my favorite, the desire you have to be something, to do something, is a mental echo in your mind of the spirit which already exists within you. So it's not something that's coming from out here. It might seem like it, but no. It's a response from the divine within you to what's going on, so that you may stand in your full spiritual knowing, your full spiritual power and potential, and be a light, to be a light in the world. And he wrote, it's the spirit in you seeking an avenue of expression through you. It's the real stuff, the real self, the deep spiritual self. It's the transcendent, triumphant self. Ralph Waldo Emerson wrote, and I quote, God will not have its work made manifest by cowards. But the thing is, the courage actually comes from doing the thing. If we wait for the courage, forget it. So we might as well just step into it and do it. Your dreams, your desires, your intentions. Just step into them and do it. So when we announce, when we pronounce our wins, and when we say, yes, this is my desire, this is my dream, this is what I want to see happen. When we do that, and we pronounce our willingness to expand and grow, and then we produce that yes to birthing those ideas, those desires, we not only heal ourselves, but guess what? We raise the vibration of the rest of the planet. And in that is the celebration of God. That vibration of love and joy is the vibration and circulation of God. So can you imagine living with the clarity and power that comes from standing poised in your own authentic divinity, discarding for once and for all that which no longer serves you, perhaps never did. And then with intention and integrity, speaking in your heart in order to give birth to Spirit's wholeness in the form of your dreams. Can you imagine the world that we would have? It's what we seek to do in this community. Let me put it another way. This church and its teaching exists to support you in living with the clarity and the power that come from standing in your own authentic divinity. This church and this teaching exists to support you in discarding the stuff and the limited beliefs which do not serve you and indeed never have. And finally, this church and this teaching exists to support you in giving birth to Spirit's wholeness and radiant aliveness in the expression and manifestation of your dreams. It's time. 2022. It's your year. It's time. And so as I just want to say before we close the books totally on 2021, my prayer for all of us is that may we all be made free in the alchemy of release. May we all rise like the phoenix from the ashes of our stories, our fears, our limitations. May we each embrace all of it, knowing that we are worth it. We are God expressing. We are actually God's tada. Let's pray. So as we turn our attention inward, acknowledging the truth that brought us here together, the truth that brought us here this morning, that there is one power, one presence, one life, and that is God. And it's absolutely perfect. And it is the truth, the deepest truth about each and every one of us. As we accept this for ourselves, we accept it for each other. And I know, and I am certain, that it lifts us up into greater receptivity and knowingness in possibility. We release any shackles of thought. We release any ideas of limitation and move simply into that light of knowing that right where we are, I am. Right where I am, God is. And all is well.
Wake up and breathe.
And all is radiant, aliveness, and possibility. So I know that each of us is that Kandace of God. We are that celebration. And as we accept this knowing and this divine truth of who and what we are, we let God divine us and not let the world define us. I am certain that we are blessed and that everyone here is blessed. We bless each other. We bless this community. And I know that this church indeed is absolutely lifted up. So we bless this church, all churches, all paths to God, all mosques and ashrams, all synagogues, all of it, all of it, all of it. Because where the light shines, love is present. So we allow our light to shine and to be recognized, and to recognize it in each and every person, each and every idea, every animal, everything on this planet as being a celebration of a Tada light. And how wonderful it is to know that we get to be in this together, and we get to be in it together and love. So as we move out into this world, we know that we are the Tada of God. We celebrate the winds, we bless the Whines, and we move into the realm of wishes, knowing that they are more than wishes, that they are divine intentions that have been planted within us, because we are the ones we have been waiting for. How wonderful to know this. So with gratitude, I release this word into law, knowing it is already so. Together we all say, and so it is.
I think my playlist computer still thinks we're in 2021, so I'm going to change the title of that playlist. I'm so sorry. I couldn't get it to stop.
It's all right. We got a little background music, you know.
Well, y'all watch it here. Watch our playlist.
Okay.
Because I just unplugged everything. And it's still kept.